I see my name in shining lights. Yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. We've got a great lineup in store for you. But first, up on the program, I wanted to bring on a fellow host. And the show is Talking Nonprofits. And my guest, Tephanie Hopper, is the host. She's a native of Geneva, Alabama, and has moved to El Paso, Texas, and made it her home for the past 20 years. An Army veteran. She has a bachelor's in healthcare management, and it was there at Park University that she developed her love and passion for nonprofit work. And we're going to talk all about that passion. So, Tephanie, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, yeah, it's a blast. And honestly, whenever we talk nonprofit, which is actually how when you and I first met, I walked into an office in a totally different context. And I heard your passion for nonprofit. And then you and I started up a number of conversations. And as I know, both you and I are incredibly passionate. So let's talk about you, Tephanie. So you again, an Army veteran, and that to nonprofit is quite the journey. And I will tell you that my journey has been exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I am an Army veteran. I served 6 years as a 92 Alpha, which is logistics. And I can't say that I enjoyed every moment of it because I didn't like to go to the field. So that's a part of the positives and the negatives of being in any type of service or any type of job. You don't like everything, but I did like the fact that I got to meet a lot of people, and I've connected with a lot of people through the Army.
And the fun thing is now you've continued to make a difference in the military and the Army, which is great. But I'm really, really excited about what you're building through the Talking Nonprofits podcast. And I'll say this many times throughout our couple of minutes together, but obviously folks can find the conversations on their favorite podcast app, and it's some awesome conversations. I've learned a lot, but you've received a lot of accolades for public service. You've received the Federal Executive Association of El Paso Excellence in Public Service Award, the Extraordinary Ladies in the Community Award. That's one I'm not gonna compete for, and the Fort Bliss Commanding Generals Award. So that's very, very impressive. So tell us from your vantage point, the good, the bad, the ugly about nonprofit work, and I know you've seen it all. So what are you seeing in the nonprofit space, especially in this sort of COVID, maybe getting close to a post-COVID era?
What I'm seeing right now in the nonprofit world is there is a great desire for volunteers, especially at Fort Bliss. We have the Afghan refugee situation going on, but they have a need for volunteers. But also other nonprofits have a great need for those who want to serve in their organizations. So I think there's a lack of volunteers only because we were in that COVID time frame, and then there was no volunteerism happened during that time. And now we're not out of COVID, but now it's like, oh my God, we need our volunteers so we can raise funds or provide services. So right now there is a lack of volunteering. Lack of volunteer opportunities, lack of volunteers to provide those opportunities to nonprofits.
Absolutely. And one of the things you and I have talked about, and I want to spend a couple of minutes discussing, is the impact that volunteerism and being involved in nonprofits can have for the busy professional, for the business owner. I mean, some of the best networking happens when people are involved in nonprofits. Isn't that right?
That is correct. I would not have my job if I didn't volunteer. So I was a volunteer, family readiness group leader for 3 years before I became the volunteer manager, and I continue to volunteer throughout the community. I serve on the Society of Human Resource Managers. I'm the diversity director, and also I was the team RWB, our team Red, White, and Blue chapter captain. So connections, adding to your resume, that's definitely a great part of service.
Absolutely. And, there's many business folks that are out there that are tuning in, business owners, professionals that are out there that are wondering, what's involved? Where can they find those opportunities? Whether they're listening in Chicago or in El Paso, what are some of the resources that you have just found are sort of available nationally when somebody's looking to either get involved in a nonprofit, or maybe if they identify a need, let's say animals, or let's say it's homelessness, that they can perhaps step up and create the nonprofit to address the need?
Well, one thing I would say, if they want to get involved, all they have to do is pretty much use Google and say, hey, I want to volunteer with an animal nonprofit. But, LinkedIn also has volunteer opportunities, as well as finding what you value. Like for me, Team RWB is a veterans organization, and I really wanted to get involved and get back into shape. And, I connected with the chapter. And so that's what I would say is find your niche. You can find it through United Way. You can find it through Fort Bliss with different agencies such as Fort Bliss Volunteer Programs, and as well as, Indeed, there's different places where you can find places to give back to the community based on, your interest.
Oh, very, very true. So again, I'm chatting with Tephanie Hopper, the host of the Talking Nonprofits podcast, but also so much more, because I know it's so much more than a podcast. Really, what you're doing is you're creating a movement around volunteerism, nonprofits. But I do want to talk about the podcast, because you've been doing this for a little while and have hosted some fantastic conversations. So give us a glimpse behind the microphone. What's it like, and who have you talked to, and why should people listen?
Okay, well, the podcast goal is to amplify the voices of nonprofits, because I found there's not a lot of podcasts that amplify, the executive directors of nonprofits. And so I wanted to find out, their passion, their mission, their behind the scenes struggles, so that other nonprofit execs can learn from them. Also, a part of that is also their victories. I know, what can you learn from a victory? Well, you want to replicate that victory as well. So some of our podcast guests has been the El Paso Fighting Hunger Food Bank Executive Director, the Mission Continues Executive Director, as well as my newest podcast is Andrea Ramirez. She is a 11-year person with the Amistad Foundation, which, they help veterans as well as those who are underprivileged. And then I had an author on delusional altruism, Chris Putnam Walkerly, on our new podcast. And she talks about how to get people to give so that, it makes it an easier process, because, philanthropy can be a slow paced movement, but we want to make it faster for those who are receiving those funds. So that's my two latest podcasts on my podcast right now.
That's awesome. It's really great conversations. It's exciting what takes place and the energy that's there. And I've enjoyed. I think I binged a number of the episodes. I was hiking, which I know you and I share a passion for that. So I think I was hiking, and I think I listened to like four episodes. And I know you've got one coming up focusing on military, which will be fun. So looking forward to that. So Tephanie Hopper, the host of the Talking Nonprofits podcast, and again, that movement that we've been talking about, you've shared some great advice for networking, for busy business professionals, for entrepreneurs, and all sorts of great things. So I want to make sure people know where they can A, find the podcast, but B, also get in touch with you.
Okay, they can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple, as well as on Amazon. I just got that email as well by using the Amazon app. And then also you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and we're available at talkingnonprofits@gmail.com for all those nonprofits who want to be on the podcast, and also for some business profit agencies that work with nonprofits as well.
Absolutely. Again, the podcast Talking Nonprofits is available pretty much everywhere, I guess now, including Amazon, which is awesome. And I encourage all of our listeners to definitely check out those awesome conversations that are taking place. And there will be content and information for sure that you don't want to miss. Tephanie Hopper, thank you so much for joining us on the air.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Absolutely. Coming up after this very quick break, we'll continue our conversations all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business. Be sure to check out our wonderful sponsors, Tom Marabali from healthplanchicago.com. Again, a quick break. We'll be right back.